All right, everybody, we are getting into our live stream for February the 5th, 2025. We're calling in from the southern end of the Appalachian Trail, upper northern end of Alabama. There's a lot going on out there, including some of these protests that they tell you aren't happening or that they tell you are peaceful. Obviously, from what we are seeing, they are anything but peaceful. We're starting to see the police officers get attacked. The vehicles are getting attacked. Hey, Nemesis, glad to see you there. We're starting to see people getting attacked in the streets, and now the politicians are saying it's war. They're saying it's time to get out into the streets. They're saying all these things. So this is just like what we saw during the early COVID protest era. I'm starting to see this happen again. All we're waiting for is that one catalyst. Maybe it's something that Trump says. Maybe it's something that Elon Musk does. Go ahead and let us know where you're coming in from, even if you're watching this later. It's good so that we can make friends with people, build community. That's really what we're going to need in these next couple of months. Let's go ahead and watch this video. This is reportedly coming out of Arizona. Protesters beating police, destroying police cars, windshields causing complete chaos. You can feel this energy, right? This feels like COVID protest, BL protest energy. And just because there's a criminal element here that had to do with the legality of the people who are in this country and the legality of getting them out of this country, it's not going to change anything. These protests are going to remain what they are until something boils over. Now, right now, you know a police dog, right? That police dog. Hey, Miss Lisa D, God bless you and the community. Many blessings in return, and thank you so much for the super chat. You know how a police dog is directed, or an attack dog is directed. And that's how mobs are. That's how protests and riots are. Right now, you can see that they are directed at this Glendale police SUV. There's absolutely nothing that stops them from changing their direction toward you, or your daughter, or your son, or your wife, or whoever you know that might be in this protest. It could just be someone trying to get home from work. Somebody that Google Maps or iPhone Maps tells them to go down this street. They get caught up in this protest, and now the direction of the dog changes to somebody who doesn't have anything to do with it. Hey, Derek Fowler, how are you tonight, Brad? I'm doing good, man. We had a lot to do today, a lot on the homestead here, and a lot that was going on in our local area. So we're just kind of trying to get ready. I'm trying to get my brother up here and his family, you know, build a community that's a little bit more, close to heart, close to the everything that we're seeing. And just get ready. Yeah, animals, a lot of animals. Call the National Guard in, people are saying. Hey, from Oklahoma. All right, so that's this video here. I don't think there's any other videos on this one that talks about these protests that are happening. So let's go ahead and skip to another video and see what's going on there, because if anything, we're not running out of things to look at. This is Ed Markey.
To stand up and to fight, to not stand on the sidelines, to have people by the millions are going to have to stand up and protest. When we come back here the next time, there should be hundreds of thousands.
Okay, now I want to remind you of exactly what's happening, and that's why I told you this wasn't going to stop, okay? So we have this event, which is ongoing, okay? Now, as this is happening, I want to play the audio for you of this guy telling people to get into the streets so that you can see this is what they want.
We have to stand up. This is the time when we have to stand up and to fight, to not stand on the sidelines, to have people by the millions are going to have to stand up and protest. When we come back here the next time, there should be hundreds of thousands and millions of people descending on Washington, D.C.
Now, I don't know, but that to me sounds like like you said it, the inciting of a riot. It sure sounds like they want this type of thing to happen. Okay, we've got a picture worth 1,000 words, it says here. This is an organization, let's just call it that. And who is published on display in the background? USAID. the organization that uses your tax money to fund their own political agenda, sometimes a little bit of the terror, sometimes a little bit of the fighting. Look at it right there for everybody to see right out in the open. They say, look at what only 1K USD did in this prison. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Okay, here's this again. Now, I had just seen something recently. Okay, here it is. This is some Marxism with some USAID right there at the top. These visuals really show you that, you know, they're afraid of what Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency are going to find there. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of corruption and problems. People are asking, that photo didn't age well. Some are saying, who funded the RPG? Obviously, this is your tax money hard at work as they try to push through an agenda that does not line up with what we need as American citizens or even global citizens.
Why getting...
Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you any medical advice. I don't even know if this guy's a doctor, though he's standing in scrubs in front of some sort of, diploma.
Early morning, low-angle sunlight into your eyes is so important. Number one, early morning sunlight contains a very specific wavelength that stimulates a specific area in your brain that basically reboots your circadian rhythm and resets your day-night cycle. This improves your sleep, your overall alertness, and your mood. Number two, morning sunlight stimulates cortisol release.
So he's got some different reasons why getting early sunlight is important. I'm a night dude. It's in my genes. It's in my DNA. I'm the guy who watches The Cave while the people who tended to the crops in the morning were sleeping. That's just me. I sleep better at night. I do everything better at night. I'm more alert at night. Now, not everyone's like that. So maybe my genetics are a little bit different. Maybe yours are. But I do know that sunlight matters. You've got to get it.
And it stimulates it at the right time. Cortisol is the wake-up hormone. This improves your overall metabolism. It improves your immune function. It stimulates your brain when you get of alertness. Number three.
Okay, he's going on number three here.
When you get low-angle sunlight into your eyes, the retina stimulates your brain to release serotonin and dopamine.
So interesting. Now, I don't know necessarily, they probably did a lot of studies using UV and infrared lighting and on rats. I doubt they hooked some people up to, the visibility to see their dopamine receptors and wheeled them outside to see what happens in the early sun. It's probably a lot of theoretical work, but I do believe it. I mean, guys, we obviously need sunlight. So think about that in a long duration emergency. How are you and your family going to make do if you have less sunlight, altered sunlight?
USAID today, then you can be sure they'll move on to another target. If Doge attacks USAID today, then you can be sure they'll move on to another target tomorrow.
Hey, MVP.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be the Postal Service or the IRS.
You promise?
So there's Schumer right there talking about, using the Department of Government Efficiency to go after other corrupt organizational parts that aren't working right now. Elon Musk says, why would Doge audit the IRS? Yeah, exactly. Why? Dr. Skydaddy, thank you so much. Do you think we are on the brink of civil war? Looking at what's happening, I think we could be. Now, I don't know. We need a catalyst. And that catalyst has to really be like, there would have to be tie-in. Like that politician saying, get out in the streets by the millions. This is war. Do all these things. Fight, fight, fight. They're all saying these same things. If they tied that into an act of terror against the right side, that could be a catalyst. There's just so many things. We are close, though. I don't think we're there yet, but we are close. The problem is we don't know what the catalyst is going to be.
Elon Musk.
This is Rob Schneider. He's an actor. He's become pretty outspoken lately. Let me turn him down a little because he was kind of loud there.
I have this to say
Is he wearing a bathrobe with a button on it?
to you on behalf of the American people. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been incredible. We really appreciate it.
Now, actors are bought and paid for to lie, so I don't know, but I believe that a lot of them actually do want some positive change inside the country. Derek says, I think we are getting closer every day. I would definitely agree with that. Okay, let's see what this is. They say this can't be real. Okay, we have posted a lot of like self-defense stuff recently. A lot of people who are getting attacked randomly or not disengaging from an attack. Here's a guy who's obviously got money, right? More money than brains, I would say. He's out here on video threatening to kill this other person. Now, is he just a CU, you know, whatever, and he doesn't have the real weight behind his words? Well, yeah, probably. But that doesn't mean that some Looney Tune like him doesn't have the ability to go out and get a firearm, a self-defense tool, or an offense tool, a violence tool in his case, and use it because he's lost his mind so much. So let's listen to how he acts. Derek says, Brad, do you need any used mix? It's down, I don't know, rib metal for the farm. I don't think so. I will kill you. But if I do, I'll remember that. Now listen to him. I love this part. This is my favorite part. This guy, he needs help. Look at how angry he is. I mean, he's just so freaking angry that he can't do anything. Watch him. Right? But again, there's nothing that stops that kind of Looney Tune from, you know, pulling out a kinetic projectile tool and making the worst mistake in his life and the other guy's life. Here's Trump really laying down the shade, okay? Trump has no filter. Politically, he says to this woman, this reporter, or this journalist, you know, that you have a beautiful voice. He just says, I can't understand your words. Let's listen.
Woman, as a high expectation from you. Do you have any plan to change Afghanistan situation? Are you able to recognize Taliban? Because I'm an Afghan journalist, Afghan suffered woman. Any comment about Afghanistan? What's your future plan for Afghan people, especially Afghanistan?
I have a little hard time understanding you.
As we watch, let's watch Netanyahu over here to Trump's opposing side.
Where are you from? Oh. Actually, it's a beautiful voice and a beautiful accent. The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying. But I just say this. Good luck. Live in peace. Go ahead, please.
So, I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, I can barely understand what they say.
Inquiry. Yes, sir. The gentlelady has used a phrase that is considered a slur in the LGBTQ community and the transgender community. And let me please finish without interruption. And
tranny.
Okay.
Bathrooms.
All right, well, that went a different direction than I thought it was going to. So I'm glad I was able to catch it quick and move along. Come on now. Okay, you just can't trust what people are going to post out there. They're trying to get us all in some sort of trouble. But maybe if we're lucky. You know, I watched some old shows recently. A friend of ours was like, hey, let's watch a little Reno 911. And they really pushed some envelopes then. And that was the time you were able to. You know, we as preppers, we're not allowed to be offended when people say, oh, you're some crazy freaking doomsdayer. Oh, you're just some crazy doom and gloomer. You're not allowed to be offended because you're not an internationally recognized victim of minority. And even though we are a minority of the people in our thought process. But Reno 911 pushed some limits there that you couldn't even think about saying today. And it's just, hopefully we'll get back to a point where everybody can be offended and everyone can laugh about it.
Transaction on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, you know, supersede the COMEX.
New Hampshire.
That day, the pricing for gold is going to be done in the East and no longer in the West. And we are at that moment today. There were times a few months ago where the Shanghai Gold Exchange was actually more important than COMEX. And it stands to reason because, you know, when you look at the size of the Chinese economy and the need for an alternative, because don't forget, China has banned crypto. There's no crypto allowed in China. So if you want an alternative asset to the renminbi and an easy way to sort of like put your money away, gold.
I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving any financial advice. We're just watching what this guy has to say in his opinions.
Gold is the answer.
He's saying go with gold. This is billionaire Pierre Lassonde. He said that the day transactions on the Shanghai Gold Exchange surpass those of the COMEX, gold pricing will shift to the east, leaving the west behind. And right now, it looks like that could be happening. So that's interesting. We got to keep watching that and kind of see. I'm a trend watcher, so I want to see what direction our money takes, the USD.
USAID. They're screaming about Elon Musk over there, but hey, George Soros and his boy are okay. You know, they scream that we're all a threat to democracy when they've been systematically dismantling democracy before our eyes. They've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and there's no going back. So I would tell my colleagues across...
They've been caught sniffing the hair, eating the bugs, and doing everything wrong.
Across the other side of the aisle, take your salty tears and sit right back down. USAID has long strayed from its mission to effectively and efficiently administer aid to advance American interests. We all now know.
So we can see very clearly, there you go, USAID right here. Boss for calling out hypocrisy, this person says. Stop Socialist Tyranny is their name. She's right. They're more concerned with Musk than Soros influencing democracy. I mean, there's the truth on that. You really can't deny that you're allowed to influence politics and democracy and the way our government moves if you're of a certain agenda, and then you're called out for being against it if you move any other direction. Thank you so much, Bobby Bacha, private investigator, state of Texas. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. I'd be interested, Bobby, if you have some tidbits out there, some information for people. If you're the private investigator, you know, let people know kind of what time it is and what things they should be thinking about. Type it up and put it down there. This is Schumer, right? You can tell that each one of these people here were told to be here, and they were told to smile when they're told to smile, clap when they're told to clap. Sorry, Schmitty, we do it backwards so that we don't get in trouble for the republishing of information.
Win.
Obviously, this is commentary.
We will win. We will win. We will win. We won't rest. We won't rest.
You can look at all the people here. They are just bored out of their freaking mind with the monotony and the inability to have cognitive forward thought process between these politicians. I mean, just look around at the crowd. Nobody's engaged here. This is like school. It's like second grade, third grade. The kids don't want to be there. The teacher really sucks. The kids don't want to be there, but they have to be there. And they, you know, the principal's coming, so they're all just looking around, thinking their own thoughts, waiting. Maybe they'll repeat a little bit of what is said, but that's it. There's no engagement.
We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Pretty gross.
We won't.
Okay, when a rogue cell at the CIA wants to do something dirty, they say, but they don't think the president will approve, they can just walk right over to their friends at USAID. Let's listen.
USAID is under the cloak of being a humanitarian. Well, that's because USAID is one of the most disturbing organizations in the entire federal government. It may rank number one, in fact. USAID is under the cloak of being a humanitarian aid organization designed to advance U.S. foreign policy, is assigned the dirtiest tasks that the State Department can't get caught doing, and that used to be done directly by the CIA.
Interesting.
But USAID is able to act as essentially a covert operations division.
Nemesis, thank you so much. Says, thank you so much, Brad, and tell Kelly and the family hello, and God bless from the Pennsylvania woods. Appreciated from the woods of the southern end of the Appalachian Trail. We have a lot of friends, including Jordan, who was mentioned recently. He's a friend of ours and a mod on this channel. He's up in Pennsylvania. He's getting to the woods. That's his goal.
In the way that the CIA used to, except it's not even bound by the requirement of a presidential finding to authorize a covert operation.
Civil war between who? Well, that's the thing, right? So the closest that we're at right now is probably Republican, Democrat, probably red and blue. They also want a civil war between not the colors of politics, but of the people. So you've got to watch out for all of these things and don't get wrapped up into it. Bobby Bacha, thank you so much for another super chat there. Isaac Claiborne, I'm back for more. Thank you so much. I think the number on the right is the number of super chats that you have given to the channel in support, so thank you. Carla, the cooking CEO, we have to be prepared. People in Santorini have to evacuate. That's right. They had to leave everything behind. Don't be unprepared. Yeah, there's earthquakes happening right now, right? Mini tremors that they say, hey, this could be a big one. You've got to grab your stuff and get out. Same thing with the wildfires in California. You don't know when this is going to happen. The snow that came and knocked people's roofs in down south in Louisiana and Florida. The hurricanes. My brother and his family lost it all to a hurricane. House, everything inside, completely gone in an area where they wouldn't insure everything. So you don't know when it's going to be. Can you save your life through evacuation or egress? Yeah, you can save your life. But being prepared lets you get a little bit ahead. James says, hey, Brad, I wanted to check in with everybody. The fuses I had to change on the day of my truck, all of them are brand new trucks, running much better. Continuing my preps. Time is almost up. Oh, your family lived in the Appalachians. Nice. Yeah, so time, I wouldn't say time is every day that goes by. When we see these things, it's going to make it harder. And that's really where we come down to time being up. You know, if you don't get going on your preps right now and get your family involved, it's just going to be harder. Harder for you, harder for them, all the way down the road. The reporter asked, what's the message to schools that don't comply with an order by President Trump that bans boys inside of girls' sports? Oh, jeez. That's an 18-minute question.
I think kids have already been exposed to discrimination, especially young women and girls who have been forced to shower in locker rooms with biological men, who have been forced to compete on playing fields with biological men, which is incredibly unfair and unsafe, and again, an incredibly unpopular policy with the American people. As for the actions that this executive...
Sick and tired, Mulligan Stew. Yeah, that's right, Mulligan Stew. For anybody who doesn't know, let's do a little Google search here. Mulligan stew, also known as the hobo stew, a type of stew that has been prepared by American hobos in the camps since the 1900s. And, you know, Mulligan stew kind of got the idealism, or at least the nomenclature was that it was just for, you know, a certain group of people, but it was actually for a lot of the Americans. You know, we forget that during the Great Depression that we had in the 1930s, people were just as bad off as they are today. Cost of living was through the roof. You couldn't afford to pay off your cars. Anybody who had debt couldn't pay it back. You know, there's a lot of similarities that say it was maybe better in some ways back then. There was more entrepreneurship, that you could get ahead. You could do something of your own. The side hustle was better. So, I don't know. The comparison kind of says maybe a lot of people are worse off today. Bobby Bacha, another super chat. Thanks so much, Bobby Bacha. I really appreciate it. Let's see what else we've got here. Ontario calling in. Jesse James, appreciate it. Are you willing to take the mark of the beast? I ain't taking no marks no one gives me. She's way better than the last speaker. Yeah, that's for sure. You can tell that there isn't just an offsetting of negativity. This is like a telling of this is the way it is.
Executive order takes. I already laid those out at the beginning of the briefing. I'm happy to give you a copy of this fact sheet so you can let your audiences across the country know.
All right, moving forward. Here's another one. I just grabbed the picture earlier of the USAID. You know, the thing that Elon Musk is getting in trouble for gophering out all the corruption. Panama court has challenged the Chinese control of the Panama Canal. 2 Panamanian lawyers filed lawsuits revoking Hong Kong's control over the port at both sides of the canal. This is days after Trump pressured Panama. Now, this legal challenge, they say, argues a contract that was given back in 1997 to a subsidiary is unconstitutional, and they're asking for its cancellation. You know, we forget that you're taxed all around. It's like there's trolls everywhere, and what I mean by trolls is like toll booth trolls. And you're taxed when you move something through countries. You're taxed when you move through countries. You're taxed on the things you make, taxed on the money you spend. So just watch out. A lot of changes coming. Elisa asks, is anyone else in Arkansas? I do know we have a lot of people in Arkansas. So if they're in here tonight, speak up. Nemesis says, what are the odds that there will be an event at the Super Bowl? It's not 0. They say it could be free on Tubi. So there's information in open source intelligence right now that there was, maybe still is, but there at least was going to be an attack for the Super Bowl. And it wasn't going to be at the stadium because they know it's going to be locked down. That's locked tight place, right? They're going to have the radiation sniffer. They're going to have the dogs. They're going to have people. They're going to have massive checks because everybody's focus is right there at the stadium. So where's it going to be instead? It's just going to be a national thing. It's worth me watching and kind of saying, not the Super Bowl. I'm not interested. Not even the ads. I mean, maybe once upon a time, I loved seeing what kind of creativity could be pushed by humans. But right now, I'm like, hey, let's get some AI ads because AI is the fever dream nightmare fuel that that we're seeing. So maybe when the AI ads come out, it'll be worth watching.
I want to thank everybody for being here. It's fantastic. And this is sort of a big, big day. It shouldn't have even been necessary to take place. This started a long time ago, and we ended it today. And I'm going to sign the executive order right now, and everything I said will go into effect immediately, okay? Thank you.
This is Trump's executive order banning biological men from being inside of biological women's sports. And vice versa, but I don't think anyone really complains about that. Like if you want to put football players up against a couple of really wide-backed female football players, I don't think anyone's going to be like, no, let's not lose to, the San Francisco Shannons. No, they're like, okay, you want to do that? We're going to wipe the floor. It's the opposite, where you're allowing an unfair advantage based on certain things. And the fact that the grossness of the shower situation and everything else that's happening, come on, let's call reality for what it is. Depends if she's hot. The wide-backed Shannons probably aren't hot. These aren't... They tried to make some like Amazonian in media. They're like, oh, look at these pretty large women. No, I'm talking about they spent their days growing up pulling tires through the trailer yards of San Francisco to really get that oversized back. And those are the Shannons. So I don't know if I would, but maybe. How about your mom? If that was to me, maybe she's a San Francisco Shannon. I don't know. I just love that I look down and see that one single comment. How about your mom?
Sit down, please. Down in front. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you.
Butch Betty's.
If you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay. Come on. Come on. Secret Service is worried about them? If we have to worry about them, we have big problems.
Now, that's the truth. That's where I don't want to get in our America, right? Now, if you were in the Middle East right now, we know that they have used, and in areas of Africa, they use child terror people. And so this would be scary. If you were to do this in the Middle East, you wouldn't know. I mean, maybe they had explosive belts on or, anything. And that's just reality. They use children for terror there in gang organizations. But these kids who had already been screened, Trump's like, hey, the Secret Service is worried about them because that's their job. But he's not worried about them.
Secret Service is worried about them? If we have to worry about them, we have big problems. Okay, do you want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor?
Now, is it on purpose? Yeah. Is he taking advantage of a good situation? Yes.
You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press.
But you're right, that was cool. So he gets to his signing right there.
Great going, everybody. Riley.
You imagine what would have happened the last, let's just pretend we're in another reality for a second. And Trump isn't Trump. He's the old guy, right? The other old guy, I should say, the older time guy. Look at all these haters that we would be concerned with. We'd be like, hey, don't you? And he'd be just sitting there signing his stuff. Somebody would have to be there. The handlers would be like, no smelling, no touching, no looking. This wouldn't be allowed to happen. They don't see that kind of yes, Joe, I wasn't going to say it. I can't say it. But we all know. We all know what the old timer was like. Okay. Meme today that said, all I've done is spent 2025 finding out, and I haven't even been able to do any effing around. And I think that's kind of the general consensus of how crazy this year has been so far. Guys, we're 5 days into February, and we have seen crazy things happen. From all of what's happening in government, to Trump and the Gaza Strip, to what's going on with the immigration, to the protests that are being called for. Everybody, when we came into 2025, everyone was like, whew, sure, I'm glad those old bad days were over. While we have hope, and hopium is a great thing to be smoking in 2025. While we have hope, 2025 is going to rock our worlds. And everybody has been saying that they've been finding out without any of the effing around, because maybe the effing around is the fun part. Like this guy who runs up to this other dude with a soft sword, a whip, I don't know, something. He realizes he didn't want to play that game. Oh, I can't play this because of the music. They're going to ding me for this freaking music. All right, look at him. He's like, you sure you want to do this, bro? Are you sure? Portland, it says right there, I think. Portland. So is this Oregon? Any of my GeoGuessers in the crew want to tell me where this is from? Okay. Homeboy here said, you know what? I got the long get, and I'm going to get it out of the trunk. Now, is he right to be standing that way? He was trying to show bravado, right? Show with force. From a self-defense perspective, in my opinion, he should have been ready for the guy to act. What he would have done is taken a sharp blade to his neck area, which could have been life-threatening, life-ending. So that wasn't smart. No arm up, no nothing, no readiness. Like, if you're going to show bravado, at least put your arm up so that what gets hit is this, not this area of your neck, which is what almost got taken in there. So a little bit of bravado. A lot of hot heads, guys. I keep telling everyone, please do not engage in any sort of rage. There's a lot of rage baiters out there. Everywhere you look. But don't engage in it. Learn to de-escalate. Because de-escalation is just as important. De-escalation saves lives. So he tells the guy to back up. Maybe the guy's like, I'm going to go get my whatever. Because he gets back into the car, and plaid shirt homeboy here says, you know what, I'm going to get my long get out. And then story's over. So watch out when you're in the streets, when you're at the bank. In yesterday's video, we showed that video of the guy getting followed home from the bank. Just watch out.
Here's what's going on. For 4 years under President Biden, the people in charge ask one simple question. Who needs to pay more in taxes? Who needs to pay more in taxes? Well, that's not the question that the Republicans and President Trump are going to ask. Our question is, what the hell happened to the money? And that's all that's going on.
So that's the truth. What happened to all of this freaking money? Where do your taxes actually go? Now, don't get me wrong. Kennedy here. On?
For 4 years.
If I close my eyes, that's a cartoon character.
President Biden. The people in charge.
That's a Yosemite Sam. That's definitely a Yosemite Sam there. But is he saying what we're all thinking? Okay. Well, I can't argue with that. I'd rather have a cartoon voice saying what we're all thinking than these people who continue funding organizations and bad things. There's a new report out that the bird flu just mutated inside of dairy cows. This is being found for the first time. It's pretty, it's not scary. It's something that I'm like, okay, I got to watch. So that's why I'm telling you. Only the B313 strain was found in the herds. The D1.1 is linked to human infections, including the first death in Louisiana. Now, this discovery, they say, signals a spillover from wild birds, and it says that we're possibly entering a new, kind of a new era here. Hey, will you reply to Millie? She sent a message.
Yeah.
Okay. These videos, no, just on here.
On just yours.
Yeah, it was. That's why I'm saying, will you? She asked if we were coming over there later. We have a friend staying here with us before she takes a multi-state trip. She's going to learn a whole bunch of skills from people and setting up in these areas. And when you're a little bit younger and you don't have like children or a husband or wife, you can do those things. And so that's what she's doing. She's going to, go spend some time learning skills from people, homesteaders, permaculturists, Tibetan monk, I think, up in Colorado, whole bunch of stuff. So a nun in somewhere else that runs a little nunnery thing. So great power to her. But she's staying with us for a couple of weeks, kind of getting everything ready, getting her car ready because she's going to do some car sleeping, maybe even give some video so that we can kind of see what it's like on the road for her. But she wanted to know if me and Millie was my favorite, they say. She wanted to know if me and Kelly were coming over to hang out with her before she sleeps early. She's like a little old lady. She's tired right now. I guarantee it. And I don't mean tired like, oh, it's the end of the day. I mean, if the head goes to a pillow, it's lights out. So she was wondering if we were coming over. Let's see what else we've got going on here. Besides this crazy bit of bird flu mutating in cattle. Now, if this thing does spread, and if we do start to see something bigger come of it, we've really got to be prepared.
Possible to get some therapy dogs in here?
This is just a shade throw, right? Listen to this.
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible to get some therapy dogs in here for my colleagues on the other side of the aisle?
We could ask Mr. Raskin Shrink to...
I'm worried about their...
That's right, Radio Face. Thanks for covering that.
Mental stability. Mr. Chairman, would it be possible to get some therapy dogs in here for my colleagues on the other side of the aisle?
So he says we need some therapy dogs so that these people can have some cope with everything that's going on. A little bit funny, but it's a little bit of reality too, because there's a lot of people who cannot cope with this. This is change, guys. What time did your live start? About an hour ago? Let me check the thing. 38 minutes ago, so not quite an hour. All right, let's see what else we got.
The Congress, the legislative branch. Look, I got to challenge the premise of the question, Chad. You know me. I'm a fierce advocate and defender of Article 1. I mean, look, we are the legislative branch. There's a reason the Founding Fathers put the Congress, the legislative branch, as the first article in the Constitution, and we're going to vigorously defend that. But what's happening right now, I think there's a gross overreaction in the media to what is happening. The executive branch of government in our system has the right to evaluate how executive branch agencies are operating.
Of course. I mean, if we don't have any sort of accountability, we haven't had it for a long time. Even, don't get me wrong, I'm not fluffing Trump here. Even Trump's old administration, they let a lot of stuff slide that shouldn't. And my only hope is that they realized government-wide that if they don't clean the slate right now and right all of the wrongs they've been doing for decades, then this is over. And that's where we had viewers say, is this really, are we civil war? Are we right there? If they don't do that, maybe they realize that things were going to get bad.
And to ensure that not only the intent of Congress
good night, Nemesis. Hope you have a great night, man.
But also the stewardship of precious American taxpayer dollars is being handled well. That's what they're doing by putting a pause on some of these agencies and by evaluating them, by doing these internal audits. That is a long overdue, much welcome development. That's what the American people do.
David, why don't other streamers flip their feeds? Well, because they have more trust. I have trust in verify mindsets. Theirs is just trust that because legally they're operating under the commentary and fair use guidelines that YouTube will give them that operational freedom. That's not how reality works. And I see streamer after streamer, person after person get dinged. So I'm just taking I play it safe, and that's all. So it's backwards. Okay, if there's words involved, I'm going to read them to you.
Demand and deserve. And that's what's happening. So we don't see this as a threat to Article 1 at all. We see this as an active, engaged committed executive branch authority doing what the executive branch should do. They have broad discretion in all the funding, as you all know, because you follow this. When Congress funds an agency, they give broad discretion to the executive.
Okay, this guy's kind of boring, so I'm not going to keep going with him. But
legislation and all the rest of USAID. I mean, look, okay. This is what was uncovered. Three just quick examples. I mean, you tell me if this is unreasonable. Some of the stuff that the money was being spent on that we didn't even know. Crazy examples that came out. Look, $100 million on initiatives like expanding atheism in Nepal. That's what American taxpayers should be paying for? No way. Transgender operas in Colombia. This is what was uncovered. Three just quick examples. I mean, you tell me if this is unreasonable.
Yeah, so as we're sitting here, let's think about if your taxes should have gone to this instead of fixing your roads, getting your teachers teaching the right things to your children, lowering your taxes, because if there's not spending outside in other countries, you don't need to pay as much here, making your streets safer, stopping the drug epidemic.
Some of the stuff that the money was being spent on that we didn't even know. Crazy examples that came out. Look, $100 million on initiatives like expanding atheism in Nepal.
$100 million, he says, to expand atheism in another country. That's your money. Now, if you were standing up at a Walmart or outside of a Walmart, you know how the Salvation Army person's ringing their bell at around the holiday time, and you're like, am I going to give you $1? Am I going to give you a couple of dollars? Where's this going to? Can you explain to me the actual net profit of your nonprofit? And you think about, I see what they're trying to do with this money, and you make a decision. Am I going to give it to them? I guarantee if the government had to stand outside of Walmart and say, you know, we're trying to fill up $100 million for Nepal, would you like to give, $5,000 this year? Not a person would walk by and say yes. Only through corruption can you do this kind of thing.
That's what American taxpayers should be paying for? No way. Transgender operas in Colombia, drag shows in Ecuador? No way. The American people want us to... We have a $36 trillion federal debt. It is a serious threat.
And when they say we have a debt as the government, they mean you. You have a debt. And they're going to come squeeze that money out of you somewhere.
The future.
And maybe that's why the banks, we did a video about JP Morgan, of Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan, saying that it's the view of the banks that if this year inflation has to go higher, but it's better for national security, then the banks see it as a good thing. So that tells me they know inflation's going to go higher. And what this guy just said,
the American people in Nepal, that's what American taxpayers should be paying for? No way. Transgender operas in Colombia, drag shows in Ecuador? No way. The American people want us to... We have a $36 trillion federal...
$36 trillion deficit you, the people, have. They're going to come take it. And probably through inflation. Law of the minimum. Thanks so much for the super chat. What country taxes its citizens to send money to the USA? Now, there are some nonprofits that come in here and operate with some funding from other countries, but I do like the argument because there's no give and take here. There's no fairness here. It's all our money going there. So I get it 100%.
World debt. It is a serious threat to the future and security of our nation.
Okay, Netanyahu. Listen to what he says, okay? Now, remember all that went on with Trump saying that we were going to basically take over Gaza. We were going to provide jobs to the people who want to reside there. We were going to provide new housing. We were going to have, basically, let's set up a shop there. And it was going to be your tax money, sending our soldiers in there. This was all just said within the last 48 hours. I want you to listen to Netanyahu.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored that you invited me to be the first foreign leader to visit the White House in your second term. This is a testament to your friendship and support for the Jewish state and the Jewish people. I've said this before. I'll say it again. You are the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House.
Now listen to that. Let that really soak in there, right? Let it just seep in there and start to ferment and start to realize what that means. Netanyahu telling Trump, you are the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House. Now that tells me a couple of things about our next couple of months and our next couple of years. I would be scared without any poop left if I was the country of Iran right now. Not only did we have this, but also Trump came out and said if anything happens to him, they've been told to obliterate, wipe Iran off the face of the earth. I would be scared if I were them. Chris earlier asked, hey brother, what kind of video games are you playing in your free time? So right now we are playing Call of Duty as a family. The whole family gets involved. Me and my oldest son have been playing a little bit of Marvel Rivals. He's real high ranking. I'm not. I'm kind of garbage at it right now, but I'm good at Call of Duty. Like me and my youngest son, boy, we clean house in competitive. So we're getting like 30, 40 kills a person. Really, if it keeps you lined up, right? Like your brain has to start making really quick decisions. And so I like that as engagement, and it gives me time to have good father time and son time. The whole family, we like to watch Stardew Valley. Kelly gets in on whatever I want to play, so Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, whatever. Shooters are my thing right now. But I do like watching Stardew Valley. I like playing Stardew Valley. What else? I think that's it right now. That's our majority. Oh, I have this thing called Chef RPG. It's like Stardew Valley, but a little twist.
Things together under your leadership to have 4 historic peace accords.
Bobby Bacha, private investigator, Texas. Thank you so much for the super chat.
And now,
modded Skyrim. Yeah, my youngest was like, hey, could I do these mods? And so we're kind of like looking over the mods and seeing what's right.
Now in the first days of your second term, you picked up right where you left off. Your leadership helped bring our hostages...
the big bag of raspberry? Yeah. It's on the loft at the tiny house.
Okay. I'll make my tea.
So our friend is having some cramping, and so Kelly's going to make her some tea. But if you look on this side of the fridge, on where the tea is at, there's a green bag that I think's raspberry elderberry. Okay. So check and see. It's a little green bag.
Okay. Among them American citizens. You freed up munitions that have been withheld from Israel.
Canada's not bad to me.
Withheld from Israel in the midst of a 7-front war for our existence. And you just freed it. You ended unjust sanctions against law-abiding Israeli citizens. You boldly confronted the scourge of anti-Semitism.
Here's that.
You stopped funding, as you just said, international organizations like UNRWA that support and fund terrorists.
Hey,
and
Luis.
today, you renewed the maximum pressure.
Yeah, Stardew Valley for the win. Stardew Valley is a good chill game, guys. You want a game that's like, and I struggle with these sometimes because they're so chill. As long as it doesn't feel like a chore to play, I'm enjoying it. So Stardew Valley sometimes gets that for me, but if I play it by myself and with no multiplayer, I have fun with it. PUBG, Rocky. I can't do PUBG. There's just too many. There's too many cheats out there. Too many hacks. Love CP Channel 2, and he talks good about you, as you already know. Yeah, thanks, David. So me and Canadian Prepper and City Prepping, we keep a lot of offline communication that never makes it on here because we're watching these things and we're talking about what's happening and kind of like making our own ideas about the trends and the predictions or the paths that we're about to take. And actually, I just got a message from City Prepping tonight, and he's like, hey, let's get on a phone call maybe tomorrow, and let's go over some of these things. Let's make sure we really understand what's happening, because it's our job to provide back to you information that is sound and that makes sense so that we all can make good decisions for our family.
Pressure campaign against Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, all this in just 2 weeks. Can we imagine where we'll be?
Does Netanyahu have a little cold sore there, or is that just me? Let me see if I can change the quality. Now, that's as high as I can get, but it looks like Netanyahu might got a little...
And fund terrorists. And today, you renewed the maximum pressure campaign against Iran.
So PG asking me, I suppose, maybe it's the viewers, do you support Israel? Well, the money of the American taxpayer sure does, doesn't it? For me, man, I love people everywhere. It's the person. So do I have any like predetermined hatred or ideals towards people? No. The person can be a real piece of work. And so as long as nobody means me harm and my family harm or your family harm, I'm cool. I don't care where you're from. You're from North Korea? You want to talk about, you want to get in a game together? All right, if you're not a bad person, let's chill. Let's just hang out. Let's all do things for the better of humans. But that doesn't work from a governmental standpoint. they need to oppose us against each other. And some, inherently, of course, the government wants bad people. Bad ideas. Look at a lot of what's happening in the Middle East and a lot of the regression of what's going on. They want this altercation. They want the hatred. For me as a person, individually, nah, I'm good. You just be a good person. I'll be a good person. And hopefully we'll raise our children to be good people. And hopefully I'll have good fruit trees covered in good, healthy fruit. Fruit-filled garden every year. Lower taxes than ever. No taxes because it's theft. That would make me happy.
Ladies and gentlemen, all this in just 2 weeks. Can we imagine where we'll be in 4 years? I can. I know you can, Mr. President.
Yeah, that looks a little bit like the herpes, the herpeners. You got the herp, bro?
Chemical. Now, the second most used chemical in this country, pesticide in this country, is atrazine. It's banned in Europe, banned all over the world, but we use it here. It's in 63% of our drinking water.
Now listen to that. Okay, so this is our health boy coming in. For anybody who doesn't know, RFK Jr. Okay, RFK Jr. He's on track right now to become the U.S. Health Secretary. So here he is telling you that the poisons they're allowed to spray into your fields and onto your food is coming into your water. Eldon, I recommend RINS mods as long as they're in order in your load list. It's important. Requires a new game. Visible favored weapons. Oh, cool. Okay, I'll check it. I'll check that out.
There's a famous African scientist named Tyler Hayes, who's at the University of Berkeley. He did a famous experiment that anybody can look up on the internet. He put 70 African water frogs in a...
Okay, we've all seen that experiment about the, making the water frogs chill out with the other water frogs. Okay.
Fight their violation of civil...
Why is their audio so bad on this?
We will fight their violation of civil service laws. We will fight their violation of civil rights laws. We will fight their violations of separation of powers. We will fight their violations of our Constitution of the United States.
Look at the anger they want to push to the American people.
States of America.
RFK coming for them wide backs. You better watch out.
Shut up. We will stand up. We will speak up. We will rise up. It is time, as the African spiritual says, for us to lift.
Wait, what did he say?
It's time, as the African spiritual says, for us to lift every voice. Rise up. It is time, as the African spiritual says.
Okay, why are you up here in America as an American politician, right? Cory Booker. Talking about the misuse of taxpayer money. Cory Booker, right here, U.S. Senator. Why is he up here in America?
It is time, as the African spiritual said.
How about you talk about the founders of America to incite the good old strength of people? Oh, that's right. I know why. Hey, Jordan. Late again, but you're here. Oh, yeah, we had a couple of people calling in from Pennsylvania. Hey, Storm, glad to see you here, too.
For us to lift every voice in condemnation of what's going on. We will fight.
Interesting what's going on here by all these politicians. And if anyone's coming in late, thank you guys for being here. We have politicians calling for riots right now.
Abolish them.
Okay, so this is Milton Friedman, apparently. Milton Friedman, he was a great financial predictor, an economist, American economist, a statistician. Maybe he discussed how life will find a way. Let's see what he had to say.
Department of Agriculture.
Abolish.
Gone.
Oh, man.
Saying abolish the Department of Ag.
Department of Commerce.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Defense.
Keep.
Keep it.
Keep the Department of Defense.
Department of Education.
Abolish.
Gone.
Abolish the Department of Education.
Gone. Energy.
Thanks, Tammy.
Except that energy ties in with the military.
Well, then.
So defund the Department of Energy except where it ties in with the military.
We shove it under defense. The little bit that handles the nuclear,
that ought to go under
plutonium and so forth goes under defense, but we abolish the rest of it. Health and Human Services?
There is room for some public health activities to prevent contagion, such a thing as, for example.
So you'd keep the National Institutes of Health, say, and the Center for Disease Control down in Atlanta?
No, not the National Institute. No, those are mostly research agencies. No. That's a question of whether the government should be involved in financing research.
And the answer is no.
Well, that's a very complicated issue, and it's not an easy answer with respect to that.
I like that he's at least a thinker, right? I don't necessarily agree with all that he says, but I like that he's a thinker.
We'll eliminate half of the Department of Health and Human Services?
Like
okay, one half. There we go. Housing and Urban Development?
Out.
Oh, didn't even pause over that one. Department of the Interior?
Oh, well, but housing and urban development has done an enormous amount of harm. My God. If you think of the way in which they've destroyed parts of cities under the rubric of eliminating slums.
Jack Kemp,
you know, you remember Martin Anderson wrote a book on.
So interesting how the understanding of what's happening today has been around for a very long time, and that we can see how the old understanding is shaping us today.
I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOJ team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad.
You know, this reminds me of a house, right? Like your mom and dad's house. When times were getting a little crunchy, times were getting a little tough. And Jordan was just talking to me about some debt repayment, debt consolidation things that we had discussed offline. You know, when you see tough times ahead, what should you do as a head of house? You should say, okay, let's look at every single thing we spend and ask, is it worth it? Is this the right thing to do with that money?
Across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money?
And that's how government should operate, like one big house, not how it has been.
If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. This is France. Meat sold on payments without respect to health or hygiene. Okay, I can't play the audio. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? That meat, you take it home and you cook it, wash off the sand and grit, it's probably okay. Is it up to our standards of what we want to see here to have a highly hygienic society? Absolutely not. Is it safe? If you cook it well enough and it's washed, probably okay. Remember, the cows are stepping in poop all day anyways. If you've ever hunted your own food, you know that, you know, if you have to skin it on the ground because you don't have a tree to put it up in, you're going to get the doo-doo on it. There's going to be, you know, ticks on it, fleas on the skin, everything. So this is very shocking for a lot of people. It's probably worse in some chicken joints inside the USA. I don't know if I would rather have that or the guy you know, taking a doo-doo inside the USA, inside of the fryer before he fries your food inside of it. That's what we have to deal with. So what would you choose? Would you choose the meat on the ground, the concrete, picking up the sand and grit and everything, the guy spit, or the guy doo-dooing in America under our regulation in the fryer before feeding you your food?
And one more thing before I wrap up, because I do want to get to these meetings and I will see you all at the EO signing later this afternoon. I would just say that you brought to mind California and North Carolina, who continue to be on our hearts, and the president and this administration are committed to ensuring
Tanner says, I'm trying to go vegan, and this video helps. Vegan's hard, guys. I mean, we are, in my opinion, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, it's very hard to not find the things that your body needs from a I'm a rounder, right? If I eat too much, I'm a real well-rounder. But I'm a rounded diet kind of person. So I think you need a little bit of all the things that we have to offer with an understanding that your body should think, it wants sugar all the time because it's supposed to have it very few times a year. Only when the sugar is ripe on the trees, the strawberries are ripe, the watermelons are coming in. So, and other times you're not supposed to have it. A well-rounded diet, in my opinion, is great. Dietary needs, of course, need to be understood.
These individuals get the funding that they need. And I would just say a strong message to Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the...
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys my diet because I'm cutting back on some carbs. So this was my diet today. This was part of it. So I've got... Let me see if it'll zoom in here. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. All right, I've got beef tips with some rotisserie chicken that Kelly made and some... broccoli there. And what I've done to that is I have completely covered it in some organic turmeric pepper because the curcumin inside of the turmeric doesn't do anything without pepper. It's not bioavailable. A little bit of salt, definitely some olive oil. So that was my diet today.
Long list of crap that this administration is cutting. Federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on and on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you. Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good use.
I have that friend Millie that I was telling you about here on the channel that she's going to do across the country interstate trip. And she's very interested in grass-fed beef right now. And I haven't broken her heart yet to show her what grass-fed beef really means because she really is finding positive influence by searching out all of these things. And so if it makes her feel better, I'm not breaking her heart yet. But you and I know what grass-fed beef really is. You and I know that these cows are still stuck in their exact little spot that they can't move from while a truck full of grass pours it off instead of feed pellets. And then they're still chock-a-block full of vaccines, still getting their other foods in pellet form. It's crazy.
Not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything. And in the last 4 years, this federal government did nothing to help them. This president will continue to put Americans first. And I think the successes of this week so far speak to
farm
that,
raised,
it's
different
only
story.
Wednesday. So I'll see you guys later this week, and we'll see you this afternoon.
Brown cows give milk of magnesia and prune juice, according to On Points. Where's her cross? Maybe it's just under her thing. She is usually wearing a cross. So maybe it's just under her. She had kind of like a wide-shouldered shirt going on today.
This is all a scam. I mean, we got people that's getting ready to retire that's going to try to live off $2,000 to $3,000. Impossible. It's impossible. Because what happens, it comes up here, we spend it. We're $35 trillion in debt. We don't have any money. We're dead broke. And then
now listen to him talking about how they're throwing away future Social Security. This is Senator Tommy Tuberville telling the truth, according to this report. They're spending your future Social Security. Yeah, how can you be in debt? $34 trillion, $36 trillion, and guarantee that the money you and I are giving in today is going to be available in the future? You can't. That's like a company that can't pay the power company guaranteeing that you're going to have the lights on next month. You can't do it.
Taxpayers have $2 trillion in credit card debt. We are in huge trouble. In this body, we had better start figuring that out because we're going to have a run on this city here soon, and there's going to be about 150 million people coming up here saying, where's our damn money?
And that's what they're afraid of. He said we're going to have a run on this city with 150 million people coming up and saying, where is our money? That old, you watched Shrek, right? The old animated movie, a great movie. For me, it's turmeric, like America, okay? For me, Shrek is the perfect idea. You had the pitchforks and you had the torches. And the townsfolk came after the ogre. And that's what these people are afraid of. They've all become the ogre. They're in their swamp. They're happy about being an ogre. They want to be left alone to do whatever with their swamp that you want to do. And that's exactly what's happening. They're afraid that the pitchforks and the torches are coming for them. PG, who are you talking to?
That we paid in. I could have put my Social Security money 40 years in tax in the market.
So everybody in the chat, we don't argue about religious beliefs here because we have people of all different beliefs. This is a survival and preparedness channel. So just keep it, blessings are great. Hey, blessing, God bless you. Yahweh bless you, whatever you want to say, great. But we don't argue about any sort of religious beliefs here.
Worth 8 to 10 million today. But the federal government wasted it. So I'll get off my horse there. But it's good that we have this because we got, I get a little pension check from education. I was part of a union.
And this guy's just going over and over again about how they are definitely concerned with what's going to happen when that money dries up.
For some reason, we're taxing people for the second time on the Social Security that they put into an account.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out when Social Security was first founded, those who established it, it was started out as a 2% tax, and they said this will never take more than 6% of your.
Hey, Christopher, glad to have you here. Glad you caught this live with us.
Depending on whether you go with CBO or Social Security trustees, it needs to take between 15.8 and 17.5%. So we're talking about thousands of dollars more per year. It also was actually only originally recommended.
I am reading it. Read, study, and learn.
$1,000 equivalent in today's dollars of earnings.
Grass-fed beef is where I live, just grazes in the pastures. That's how it should be. Unfortunately, at the large farming level, that's not how it works.
Money's been set aside for me. No, for the past 13 years.
Hey, he has risen.
Every dollar that has gone.
I need to price half a cow. Yeah, I mean, that is, or get out there and hunt. Some people don't like hunted meat though. So for me, I'm going to get out there and hunt. And Jordan too. Jordan's a mod in here. He's going to get out there and hunt. He's got the whole family in on it. The wife's going to get out there and hunt, and she might outshoot him. She might outshoot me. Who knows? She might outshoot you. That's what I'm talking about. Get out there and hunt that food.
Leave the buck to the next generation that's coming along. And because Social Security has grown so much, it's actually to the detriment of lower income workers in particular who have to pay such a large share of
Joyce said, hey now. All right, I think we got enough of this this person talking about this. We know Social Security is a scary future, and it's one that is not at all promised. It's promised, but it's one that they can't deliver a guarantee on.
Hearts and the president and this administration are committed to ensuring that these individuals get the funding that they need. And I would just say a strong message to Democrats.
Dothan, Alabama. Let me see here. Dothan. Yeah, it's still a ways away from me. Still got hours and hours of driving. But glad to see another Alabamian in here. You're way down there.
Who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting, federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you.
Nice.
Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who...
There we go. That's the part we all need to be talking about.
Taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything. And in the last 4 years, this federal government did nothing to help them.
Sad. Of course, it wasn't 4 years ago that it happened, but I know what she means, okay? I get it. Some of the most insane USAID spending that was recently found. $2 million for a Moroccan pottery class. Who's provoking religion? Isaac, I'll time out. I don't mind timing out in here. $2 million to promote tourism to Lebanon. $20 million for a Sesame Street show in Iraq. Sending Ukrainians to Paris for the Fashion Week. $1.5 million for Serbia. $70,000 for a musical in Ireland. $2 million for Guatemala. $6 million for Egypt. Definitely craziness. And it's not going to stop there. They said I'll keep a running list. Yeah, what This is going to be small idea compared to what they're actually going to find in the future. What they're going to find that the government has spent your money on is going to shake the freaking world.
Driving policy, the media, politicians.
Okay, who is this? America's new Secretary of Energy exposing a some climate idea changes.
They've never bothered to learn anything about climate change, and they don't seem to appreciate at all that the cost and affordability of energy
What do you mean,
is
Isaac?
simply intimate to human well-being. It always has, everywhere and always. So these two ignorances about the importance of energy and about real facts about climate change are driving just a massive...
It's awesome, David. Use it well.
...destructive movement. Not just destructive to the economic well-being of humans, but I speak in schools, it's turning people away from science, and I mean science.
Thanks, Michael.
This process of questioning and challenging, not the science.
That is the difference, right? There is the accepted science, and then there's what science actually is. So let's ask Grok. Let's all get in on this. From a theory standpoint, what is science? From a theoretical standpoint, science can be understood through key aspects. A method of acquiring knowledge, systematically gathering, evaluating, and interpreting evidence to explain natural phenomena. Hypothesis, experimentation, observation. Then you have methodology, which is empirical or evidence-based. You have observation, experimentation, analysis, peer reviewing. Then you have the philosophy of science, a concept introduced by Popper, where a theory for a considered scientific fact must be capable of being tested and proven false. Objectivity, provisional truths. You see, science, when we say follow the science, there's so many different caveats to that. They want you to follow papers that were bought and paid for by politicians. They don't want you to follow the science, the same exact things that were on the opposing side of that. So definitely keep a watch anytime you hear that word.
This sort of top of humans. But I speak in schools, it's turning people away from science, and I mean science, this process of questioning and challenging, not the science, this sort of top-down, mandates that justify what people want to do anyway, that has nothing to do with climate change. And how has it gone so far? So we're 20 years, $2 trillion of subsidies. In the year 2000, the world got 86% of its total primary energy from fossil fuels. So last year, in 2020, that 86% plunged all the way down to 80%.
All right, obviously this guy knows what's up, right? He's talking about how the understood science is not what we're being sold on. RFK Jr. putting... Now, I don't know if... Is YouTube going to be mad at me for this? I'm not sure. Let's ask Grok about something first, okay? If you guys haven't paid attention, methylene blue is... it's becoming more well understood, or at least more well understood for its use. Dark green powder or a crystalline solid dissolving in water, giving a blue solution. Biological stain, you use it in microscopy. So that's like when you look under a microscope, it's used as a staining tool. It has medical uses. An antidote for methemoglobinemia. Oh, it told me what the condition is. Why did I do that? Let's see if we can go back there. What is methylene blue? Okay. To dye, biological stain. One of the most critical medical uses, a condition where hemoglobin is oxidized to methemoglobin, which cannot carry oxygen. Anti-malarial. So it's been used as an anti-malaria agent. Neuroprotection suggests that it has neuroprotective properties for things like Alzheimer's disease. Aquarium treatment, used to treat fungal infections and parasites. There's research on different properties for it. Potential risks, they say, as with anything, could have skin irritation or other types of bad negative side effects. It does have a mitochondrial effect, does have implications for other things. So here's RFK Jr. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm just watching what this guy's doing. He's our health secretary, right? So you watch. They say it boosts autophagy in fasting, also helps with radiation, according to these reports. So apparently RFK is putting a little blue drops. Now, it could be something else. I don't see the label on the bottle. Maybe it's something else. But he might be putting it in his drink as a sort of like a supplement. So that's interesting to watch. All right. I don't know if this is valid, if it's true or not, but I think it is. You know what? It's part of the corruption scope. Now, whether it's actually them using this money to all of these Lutheran services of Florida and refugee services, I'm not sure. But we know they're using your money in not the best ways. Here's Mel Gibson, and this is Mel Gibson news, okay? So I'm not even going to cover that. That's just Mel Gibson news. I thought it was actually Mel Gibson saying these things. Mass exodus. They say 40,000. Let me flip this around so you can read it with me. They say 40,000 federal workers are taking Trump's buyout. More than 40,000 have accepted this administration's deferred resignation program. White House officials have confirmed the figure. The Office of Personnel Management says that it's rapidly growing. So it's kind of like a you don't want to be here, get the F out idea going on through our government. And I'm all for it. If you don't want to be a part of the new direction that brings strength back to the American people, strength to our economy, strength to our military, strength to our position in the whole global order, then if you don't want to be a part of that, you can go. And so for that part, I'm okay. But for the other parts, I'm a little bit concerned. And what I mean by I'm concerned is some of the things that they are doing could at some point be turned around and be used against the preppers, the survivalists, the everyone else. Elon Musk posted this. Dura Fowler, how many projectile launchers do you think about survivalists should have? So that's hard, right? For me, there's a pyramid, and there's a shotgun, a longer range, higher capacity tool. Like I'm a fan of the AK series, just because I don't have the best diligence with my cleaning. And I know that guys in the Middle East can get them muddy and sandy and they still work. And I've put them through HE, and they still work great for me. Whereas my AR platform doesn't work that great for me when I treat it the exact same way. So I like the shoddy, the 7.62, and a revolver. Why a revolver? Now, that doesn't mean I don't have other things, right? But why a revolver? Because no matter who, if my wife picks it up, if my adult family member picks it up, they can use it without much knowledge other than point and click. And I don't know if you're as old as I am, but I'm an age where point and click was a real thing that made it easy for everyone to understand. Whether it's computers, an app, a digital camera, they were like, oh, remember, it's just point and click. You don't have to be a photographer. Well, that's the same way. So point and click is a revolver. Now, how many of those and how many rounds you have to, of course, by the time you get through 10,000 rounds, if you're fighting through 10,000 rounds, the chances of you still being Rambo'd out at the end of that and with all your breathing holes only here and here, probably not that great. Those are things you have to take into, personal consideration. Thanks for the heads up on the backwards again. All right, I think we've got time for one more thing here. Let's see what this is.
President Trump ran for office saying,
I don't know who's laughing there.
I'm going to review every single penny in the federal budget. Now, how are you going to review the spending in the federal budget without reviewing the...
Okay, we covered that at the beginning of this, so that's nothing new to us. Maybe this one. Maybe this will give us something new here.
Of numerous actions taken by a number of bodies of the United Nations, which exhibited deep anti-American...
This says President Trump signed an executive order withdrawing the use of the USA from the United Nations Human Rights Council due to deep anti-American bias.
We have an executive order prepared for your attention that would withdraw the United States from the UN Human Rights Council would withdraw the United States from the UNRWA.
Peace, Caleb.
Which is a refugee organization, and would also review American involvement in UNESCO, which has also exhibited anti-American bias. More generally, the executive order calls for a review of American involvement and funding in the UN in light of the wild disparities in levels of funding among different countries that, as you expressed previously, is deeply unfair to the United States.
Hey, Chaos.
So I've always felt that the UN has tremendous potential. It's not living up to that potential right now. It really isn't. Hasn't for a long time.
Same, sick and tired. But we're only as old as we feel, right?
But it's not being well.
So here's Trump signing it, getting us out of the United Nations Human Rights Council, pushing like an American first agenda. So that didn't really cover too much. Let's see if we get one more good old thing on here. I really want to go out on a bang here. TSA purging their records of everybody who was on the Quiet Skies terror watch list. Let me turn this around so you guys can see it with me. The TSA is said to be removing the names of Americans who were listed on their Quiet Skies watch list. As previously reported, different people in the conservative space and others were added to this list. They say that they are also being told that air marshals are still assigned to follow certain Jan Cis defendants, as if they have not been pardoned. Somebody says, I'm currently suing the TSA over this. You know, I love how everyone's like, I'm suing Fox, I'm suing CNN, I'm suing Pfizer, I'm suing all these people, when they don't realize that the organizations you're going after are beyond the law. And without a change in our country, we won't have change. So here's for us hoping that what we're seeing right now is a change for the good. We won't know for a little while. But here's us hoping that what we're seeing is a change for the good. We're just going to have to keep watching. Thank you, guys. We ran over an hour. We're at 1 hour and 22 minutes. So thank you guys for being here with us today. And thanks for watching the events of our world together. Knowing what's happening, talking together, being peaceful together. Knowing that no matter where you're at, where you're from, no matter what's going on, we're in this together. So from my family to yours, we're going to wrap up here. We'll see you guys tomorrow in the morning with the broadcast. Peace.